Kia ora, I'm Miriam Makamo. Our chooks lay 1 billion eggs every year, and between us we eat about 230 or 19 dozens each. We love eggs, but here's the rub. Sunday has been supplied pictures shot by animal activists who broke into some battery hen farms. The footage shows eggs being produced in what appears to be disturbing conditions. We've discovered chickens crawling with vermin and eggs bound for your table lying beside dead and rotting carcasses. So, who's enforcing the rules governing battery hen farming? This from Ian Sinclair.
Now, if you're asking to go, we will go.
It's the battle of the birds.
Next time you come on the property, you'll get done.
Animal activists versus farmers.
We want those birds out of the cages.
And a question, when is it okay to break the rules?
Breach of the code is not an offence under the Act.
Eggs, just how we love them. But could this be where your breakfast eggs came from? Lying in the trough beside a dead battery hen? All in undercover footage gathered in a battery farm in New Zealand by animal rights activists.
They found absolutely appalling conditions.
This video was shown to Sunday by SAFE spokesman Hans Creek.
The footage was given to me by fellow activists who have been investigating a number of farms. They actually went to visit 8 farms in New Zealand.
He says activists found evidence 3 of those 8 farms were operating outside of the code governing the welfare of chooks. This footage shows graphic evidence from one of the farms.
What they found there is dead birds in cages. They found rotting birds in cages. They found incredibly filthy conditions, cobwebs all over the place.
That's bird manure on the floor and another dead bird right below the eggs we eat. Inside the shed, activists don't stop at just filming. They take 6 birds with them to check their welfare.
So these chooks were taken from a farm. That's theft, isn't it?
Well, I'd like to call it rescue birds. I mean, you wouldn't probably ask me this question if this would be abused children. One of the birds is in extremely poor condition, and I don't think she's going to survive.
She's dubbed Mrs. McCaw.
My wife called her Mrs. McCall after Richie McCall because he's a battler and she thinks she's a battler too.
Mrs. McCaw is one of 7,000 battery hens on this farm, producing an estimated 2 million eggs a year.
If people knew where their eggs came from, they probably wouldn't be buying them.
On his back lawn, Hans Creek gives the birds their first taste of freedom.
Well, these are the 6 rescued hens. They've never been outside. Come on, you come out. It'd be quite nice to take them outside and see how they respond for the first time on grass. Come on, girl, you go and have a little walk.
SAFE hired a vet to examine the birds taken from the farm.
The veterinarian describes the condition of the animals as appallingly poor medical condition. Appallingly poor. So this is a veterinarian. This is not me speaking, an animal rights activist. This is a veterinarian saying appallingly poor.
Top concern for the vet was Mrs. McCaw.
She's very, very slow, and she doesn't really want to eat. She looks actually quite nice, doesn't she, in that she has a good feather cover. But that fools you because she's actually very, very sick, this bird. She is thin. She's got a very pronounced breastbone. You can really feel that. It's quite sharp. And when you look at her rear end as well, she's got diarrhea. And there's something going on inside this bird, so she is now under veterinary supervision, and we hope to get her right. But, you know, the prognosis is really not that great.
Then we discover the true horrors of Mrs. McCaw's condition.
See, this hen is actually completely covered in lice. That's probably half the reason why she's so weak. Just look at my sleeve. She's covered in these horrible little bugs.
A bird in that condition then, sick and dying, would there be any health risk to eating an egg from a bird like that?
Well, I certainly wouldn't be eating egg that rolls out of a cage like that. You know, we have seen eggs lying in trays with next to dead birds. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting, and you've got to wonder what the New Zealand public would think of that. Most people wouldn't expect that to happen, I think.
All this, says SAFE, in a farm with cages banned in the layer hen code of welfare. The main issue, the old type of doors.
Farmers had until 2008 to get rid of cages like this. They were banned because the doors are quite small. You pull the door up and you can damage the bird pulling it out. So they were supposed to have been replaced with cages looking like this, with a door that runs right across the front, so you can open it out and remove the bird, hopefully without injuring it.
The way the farmer removes the birds, and they do thousands of them, is by sticking their hand in the cage, grabbing the bird by the legs and then pulling the bird out. So you can imagine if the door opening is only this big, yanking a bird out of that little hole, if the bird flaps its wings, for instance, then the wings get stuck. And that can clearly cause injury. In this particular instance, we have actually footage of a wing hanging in a cage. So what's that wing doing there by itself? So that could have well been ripped off when the bird was removed. But it's not just us saying that these doors were inadequate. This is actually the National Animal Welfare Advisory Committee saying that these doors were inadequate, and this is the reason why they banned those cages.
Would you want to eat eggs from that farm?
No, unacceptable. And neither should New Zealand consumers.
The message from the Egg Producers Federation: don't judge all 130 farms by this footage.
We know that the 99% of the farmers in this country meet the code. We have those guidelines are in place, and we ask that people meet the code. We require that they meet the code, and we ask MAF to ensure people do meet the code.
Then Michael Brooks revealed his federation had already alerted MAF about most of the farm's safe claims are in breach several years ago.
I actually did know about 2 of those 3 farms, and I have raised it with MAF previously. The 3rd one I did not, but I ask all the time from industry any feedback. So we do know, we do take inquiries. As I said to you, we take this matter seriously. These matters have been raised. So if we believe there are people in breach of the code, we report it.
So are there any more?
Not that we're aware of, but if anyone has any information, report it to us and we'll report it to MAF, or report it directly to MAF. We want the code enforced, and that's the reason we would ask for action to be taken. It's a slur on the rest of the industry. It does not represent what this industry stands for and what the standards in this industry represent. And it's totally unfair to demonise and characterise a whole industry by somebody who's not meeting the standards, if that's proved to be verifiable.
Next up, has MAF failed to enforce the regulations for battery farms?
Non-meeting the code does not automatically mean there's animal cruelty.
And the farmers in the gun, how do they defend themselves?
Off, you're out, buddy.
You're
now,
entitled to ask us to go.
Next time you come on the property, you'll get done for trespassing. Off.
Sunday decided to investigate a chicken farm where thousands of birds were allegedly being held in cages that breached the welfare code. The animal rights group SAFE claims MAF isn't inspecting these farms properly. They'd shown us video evidence to back their claim that the farm was using cage doors already banned as too cruel for years.
So either MAF doesn't know, and therefore they don't do anything. And if they know, then they're clearly failing in their duties.
SAFE planned to report them to MAF for possible prosecution. So for legal reasons, we've decided not to identify the property, but we did use hidden cameras to record the owner's response. And they would claim the cages were MAF approved.
We are MAF approved, and we've got our RMP, we've got everything.
So MAF have inspected the...
Yeah, everybody has.
Yeah.
Sunday was told we were picking on the wrong farm.
If you really want a story, go find out what's going on up there, because there's some bad shit going on up there.
Then indignation turned to anger.
I'll get angry, both yous.
It seemed not everyone wanted to explain.
Now,
If you're asked to go, we will go. Fair enough. No, we're
you're
quite happy to go.
Go. You're out, buddy.
You're quite
Now,
entitled to ask us to go.
Next time you come on the property, you'll get done for trespassing.
But others felt we should stay.
Come on, take your show and you're in purpose.
We asked them about the condition of those chickens SAFE spokesman Hans Creek had shown us.
They got 6 birds.
Yep.
Okay, and they took them to the vet.
Yep.
And the vet wrote a report. And I just...
Oh!
So they stole as well?
Yes.
So
They got 6 pigs.
you're dealing with criminals,
They got
basically.
6
Come with me. I want to take...
The people running the farm showed us where they say the animal activists had broken in to steal their chickens.
We were actually thinking somebody was actually stealing eggs, to tell you the truth. You know, times are hard.
Broken panelling could be seen. Hans Creek insists the activists did not break any property, but went in through a section of wall that was already damaged.
Are you worried about prosecution?
Not worried at all. Bring it on, I would say, because we believe that rescuing animals from places that abuse animals is not going to have any repercussions whatsoever. And I think the New Zealand public would stand behind us as well on this one.
They insisted on taking us to a nearby shed where they showed us their controversial cages.
The cages are twice as big as anybody else's cages.
But we see those doors banned by the Code of Conduct for Farmers more than 3 years ago.
They go into the cage once, and then they come out of the cage.
Yes, but we were told it's a mere technicality.
It's just because there's legislation that says that what is the problem with the door?
And MAF admits they can't necessarily force the farmers to follow the code.
Provided they can show, or they're satisfied that there is no breach of the Animal Welfare Act, in other words, no offences that have been committed against that Act, then there is no... we can recommend, we can require them to change it, but it is not an offence.
MAF Head of Compliance Jeff Allen says staff keep all farms under regular scrutiny.
The MAF inspectors, either the food safety inspectors or the animal welfare inspectors, inspect all of those farms at least once a year.
He does concede a number of farms may be breaching the code governing chicken farmers, but they won't be prosecuted unless there's also evidence that the birds' welfare is harmed by the breach.
So am I right then in understanding that if they have doors that don't comply with the code, that your people have seen them and done nothing?
If the people that have seen them and noted that because they were there was breach of animal welfare legislation, they would have done plenty. Okay?
Can you understand why the public might be confused about this policy?
Yes, I can see that, but that is the legislation and that is the requirements that I have to meet, and I have to stay within the law. Okay? Regardless of the personal beliefs or changes that I have or that any of the inspectors have. The law is the law, and it is not my business to work outside it.
Well, the problem with the code is it's got no teeth. There's nothing you can do about it.
And animal behaviourist Mark Vetty asks, if a code can't be enforced, why have it in the first place?
Waste of time, isn't it?
Sunday called in Mark Vetty to take a look at the birds taken from the farm. While the chooks enjoyed a first taste of sunshine, Mark Vetty gave his verdict.
They're in disgusting condition, you know. Anyone who considers that good stockmanship needs to be shot, to be honest.
To him, these birds show how life in any cage would be hell for a chicken.
If you feel the feathers, you know, they've just lost all of their life. One of them's, you know, virtually emaciated. It's just got basically a skeg right up the front with no weight on it, which means it was, you know, nearly dead, basically.
The problem, chickens have a pecking order.
That's her life, basically. She's the hen-picked one, so she's pushed to the back of the cage, the little cage, head out the back of the cage more than likely, so she avoids interaction, what she's just done there. And so therefore she hasn't got enough opportunity to eat. So the code should have teeth. I mean, why do it? It's ridiculous.
However, MAF conceded there might be one area where they could take action. The old narrow doors were banned under the code because of the danger birds could get their wings ripped off as they were pulled out for slaughter.
The safe showed us footage which included a wing torn off the bird, suspended by a door.
I would, if I saw that, I would definitely agree with you. That is an obvious breach of the offences of the Animal Welfare Act, and it was brought about because the person did not have best practice in their particular farm.
She's a battler too, but I'll get her out.
But any action would come too late for Mrs. McCaw. The struggle to stay alive in a cage had taken its toll.
So we gave her an opportunity to sunbathe and walk on grass a little bit, and even if she's going to die, you know, at least Mrs. McCaw had a little taste of freedom.
Yeah.
Sadly, it would be her last. Within 24 hours, Mrs. McCaw had died, her body weakened by infection and lice, leaving Hans Creek in no doubt that the illegal tactics of entering private property and taking the birds in the first place were morally justified.
So I really call on people that if they see this footage and if they don't like it, for them to stop buying battery eggs, because that's the only way we can stop this ongoing cruelty.
Yes, well, MAF has confirmed it received a complaint about Mrs. McCaw's farm 3 years ago. MAF say they've visited the farm again and are working with the owners to decommission one of their sheds and improve cage compliance with the code.